This is actually a video I've been wanting to also make for a while. People who talk to me will realize this is actually one of the things that I think is the most important about using big potential for NIRS. So I really want to talk about this. It's about using NIRS for intensity control. Now, I got a couple feedback points from my videos, which is fun. I guess people are watching them and giving me pointers. So one of them is quality of my images that I put of the charts that I put up. So I'll try to make sure those are better. And the other one is to speak more clearly. These are all pretty ad hoc. The videos, I don't spend say any time really editing them. So I'll try to do my best, but it's all minimal time because otherwise I don't actually have time to make them. So I hope people can make do. So intensity control, training volume is really is a product of two factors. One of them is intensity, and the other one is the duration. So or training load is the product of duration and intensity. So and optimizing training load is really important because you want the maximum stimulus, but you don't want to fall into something like overtraining. You need to get that. So intensity becomes really important to make sure that you're actually riding or running or performing at the intensity that you want. And so generally speaking, the way to define intensity is by using exercise intensity domains, where you have moderate intensity, heavy intensity, and severe intensity separated by two thresholds, which are the classical thresholds like lactate threshold 1 and 2, or ventilatory threshold, or critical power being threshold 2, or something like fat max being around threshold 1. Anyway, so you have those three domains, those two thresholds, and if you, let's say, I would say the best documented way of separating those thresholds continuously, in continuous state, is by using VO2 kinetics. Okay, I'll put up some examples of this, where you have increasing levels of VO2 with intensity. Of course, if you go from moderate, heavy to severe intensity, but the difference between moderate and heavy and severe is that severe you no longer find a steady state. Right, it just goes up and up and up to VO2 max, and then you have failure. Okay, sometimes you get kind of VO2 max plateau, but whereas in the heavy domain you will reach a steady state in the moderate as well. The heavy is identified then by having the slow component, where after the initial kinetic, after the initial rise, you get a continuous rise to a higher steady state later. Okay, that's kind of defines the heavy domain. And this nice lets you separate the type of training you want to do. Do I want to do threshold training, right? So you have to be at this high end of the heavy domain. Or I want to do polarized training, so I want to be in the severe and I want to be in the moderate. And NIRS can actually help you identify those domains, and it does it much easier than if you were to ride with a mask all day, because that's not very practical. And that way you can really hone in on that intensity to make sure it's optimal for every training, and not just guessing it by power, which can obviously change based on physiological condition. The physiology dictates the performance, not the other way around. So I hope that makes sense. So we're going to look at this kind of example that we're putting together for the Moxy intensity control ebook that we're putting out there. And the reason that this is such a hot topic right now too is because Team Norway has been having this huge success, best triathletes in the world. They use Moxy heavily for this concept, intensity control. So I think it's important to bring it up, or for us to bring it up more often in terms of the company Moxy, but also just from a general NIRS application in athletics, how useful NIRS can be. So you kind of have like the reverse type picture if you look at NIRS response to intensity domains. So in the moderate intensity, you will often, at the very beginning, you may have some dip, but generally you have an increasing SMO2 value, or at least a relatively high, relative to your own values of oxygenation, a high plateau of muscle oxygenation. Okay. And the highest plateau that you're going to have for the highest performance for the highest plateau, before you start getting a drop off, that's actually where you shift from moderate to heavy. It's like your threshold 1. Okay, the heavy domain one, you're going to have a drop-off in muscle oxygenation, but it is going to eventually plateau out, okay? And the very end of the heavy domain is you'll plateau out at the lowest possible SMO2 that you can sustain at a plateau. Okay, that's individual. But essentially, that value that you're at, if you're using muscle oxygenation as a percent, that's like your threshold number. Okay, that's your critical power number. So if that's 30% for you, if that's 20% for you, that's the number where you say, well, this is my sustainable performance in terms of something like FTP. Okay, and you should know what your wattage or power is at that. So if you want to do threshold rides at that intensity, you say 30%, that's my value. And you know, normally I'm riding at 300 watts with that. You go 300 watts and you realize you're at 35%. You're having a great day. You might want to then push to 320, get that to that 30%, and really utilize the training of the day today just to push performance. Okay. Same thing though, if you're at 30% and you feel that it's draining down, which means you've kipped over, you've turned over into the severe domain, which is identified as a continuous drop in SMO2 to failure. Okay, it's just going to keep steadily going down until you fail. Then you're either going to have to back it off, or might as well, or if it has to be a threshold ride, well, maybe you're not so fit, so you have to cancel your training. So you're really zooming in on the training of today to figure out where's my threshold. Am I having a good day? Am I having a bad day? Can I push it today? Do I need to take it easier? Okay, so you're combining this physiological response as the number one indicator, but backing it up with performance to figure out where you're at. Okay, I think that's really important. I hope this is useful. This is going up in the Moxy Forum, so I think there could be lots of questions around this, and we're going to actually run the Moxy Forum for 1 more month with this topic, because we'll put the ebook up and people can discuss it. And I did some descriptions of this as well on the Moxy Forum, so if my my rambling here wasn't as clear, hopefully my writing is a little clearer. But others, please ask questions there or ask questions here. I hope these images help as well with what to expect. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at the Moxy Forum. Bye.